Anger as Japanese Prime Minister offers 2 cloth masks per family while refusing to declare coronavirus emergency. For a country where the word for beautiful and hygienic/clean are the same, they're really slow about actually doing anything about this pandemic. Lot of old folks in Japan, probably bigger swath than Italy, so if it gets loose it's gonna be bad. Given that Japan has an aging population, and a high rate of smokers, if COVID-19 really gets out in Japan there will be a lot of deaths. It has the potential to be massive there. Maybe now that the Olympics are off the table, Abe may take this more seriously. Does he expect families with more than 2 members to share masks? In fairness, we got 2 cloth masks in the post in Italy and they are rubbish / it never feels great to get 2 cloth masks, in or out of a declared emergency, it seems. Over the past week, Japan has scrambled to avert an explosive surge in infections. While the current tally stands at around 2,300 cases, Japan, a country of over 127 million people, has only tested just over 30,000, compared with 394,000 tests carried out in neighboring South Korea, which has a population of just over 51 million. They don't even have to look further to learn how they should react. Everything's good, guys. The nation next door wants peace with us. But we are giving everyone a tank, on us, and maybe a flamethrower. Why the hell are all the major country leaders acting like total dumbasses? Tokyo, CNN. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is facing a public backlash after he said the government would distribute 2 reusable cloth face masks per household amid growing concern over medical shortages as the country faces a worsening coronavirus outbreak. The number of confirmed cases of the virus has spiked in recent weeks, after it appeared that Japan's initial response had got the virus relatively under control. As of Wednesday, there were more than 2,300 cases across Japan, and 57 deaths, according to a Johns Hopkins University tally. That spike has seen a raft of new restrictions put in place in Tokyo and other major cities, and a run on protective gear, including face masks. On Wednesday, Abe said the provision of cloth masks to the worst-hit areas will be helpful in responding to the rapidly increasing demand. But Abe's proposal to send 2 masks to each household attracted outrage and mockery online Wednesday, with the hashtag Abe's Mask and Screw Your 2 Masks trending on Twitter. Many felt the move was lackluster and would not go into effect fast enough to have a chance at curbing the spread of the virus, with masks not due to be distributed until the end of the month. Others dubbed the policy a Benamask policy as satirical memes showing well-known cartoon characters sharing 1 mask between 4 family members popped up online. The anger comes as Abe resisted calls Wednesday to declare a state of emergency, saying that use of such powers was not imminent. A declaration of a state of emergency would allow prefectural governors to send out a stronger message when it comes to urging the public to stay at home, but the measures will not be legally binding. Last week, Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike urged residents in the city of roughly 13.5 million to telework where possible and avoid bars, restaurants, and public gatherings up until April 12. Tokyo has now extended the closure of schools and public facilities like zoos and museums up until May 6. Koike on Tuesday called on Abe to issue the national emergency declaration, after the capital recorded 78 new cases, its highest single-day jump so far. Explosive surge. Abe said the government would prioritize distributing masks to around 50 million households in areas where coronavirus infections have been spiking. The distribution will kick off later this month and each household with a registered postal address will receive the masks through the post, part of a wider coronavirus economic package that the government is rolling out. Over the past week, Japan has scrambled to avert an explosive surge in infections. While the current tally stands at around 2,300 cases, Japan, a country of over 127 million people, has only tested just over 30,000, compared with 394,000 tests carried out in neighboring South Korea, which has a population of just over 51 million. The apparently low infection rate has created what many experts fear is a false sense of security, with people still going out in public, some not wearing masks, to see cherry blossoms, a traditional spring pastime. I just took over a pub just outside of Tokyo late last year. Koike, governor of Tokyo, has been telling people to avoid going out at night to bars or restaurants. Because apparently COVID-19 only comes out past 8 p.m., and not on the packed morning trains, business as usual offices or cafes and shops full of people and kids all day. It's like they've just said to small restaurants and bars, fuck you in particular. If everyone was locked down, I'd feel more like it couldn't be helped and we'd all be in the same boat. The only customers coming in right now are the ones who couldn't give a rat's arse about the virus, and they're the last people I wanna be around. ATM. I want to close shop for a couple of weeks at minimum, but without a lockdown ordered and suitable financial support offered, it's looking more and more like I'll have to give up on the business completely. It's a devastating thought, as I've already invested a lot to try and get the place back to its former glory and even better than it used to be. I haven't paid myself for the last few months either while trying to get it off the ground. Abe and his cronies are going to keep doing what they usually do. Spend billions of yen propping up the big-name Japanese companies with their antiquated and ineffective business practices, because in return they'll get kickbacks and cushy golden parachute gigs. They can't even seem to pretend to give a shit about the little guys like us. Jesus. Just by their demographics, Japan needs to brace for a lot of deaths. My penpal in Japan said her family's doing well during the pandemic. I'm glad to hear it, but I remember her father was in the hospital not too long ago. I'm worried about him the most, along with her and her sister's newborn babies. Abe made an announcement of 700 million supply of surgical masks, disposal/paper 1, is confirmed per month. 1500. 15 millions of them will be forwarded to medical facility next week. Distribution of elderly, disabled and public elementary and middle schools will be followed after med facilities received enough. 2. Utilize Japan Postal Distribution System, 2 cotton washable masks will be delivered to each household. I'ma keep it real with you. 57th Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe. This will not improve Japan's increasing infection rate. Remember Fukushima? This is simply how Japanese society and government operates. Face must be saved before all other considerations. The worker downplays bad news to the supervisor downplays to the manager downplays to the executive downplays to the government downplays to the president. When one is caught in a lie, they apologize and fall back to the next lie, like soldiers falling back to the next line of trenches behind the front. The interesting thing is how Japan has been able to run for so long off a cliff without falling down, Looney Tunes style, as long as the Olympics were still on the table. The phenomenon of their infected not requiring hospitalization at the rates of other countries and overwhelming the hospitals will likely be worthy of study. It is funny how Japan suddenly announced 90 new cases, a daily record, right after the Olympics were delayed. And somehow they were really sure they could still really safely hold the Olympics this July though. Japan should be fucking terrified considering how old their general population is. That's one way to clear the old off retirement plans and government payments. The unchecked pandemic method. Pretty dark move.